The valet takes my Honda Civic with the same polished professional smile he offers the Mercedes and BMWs lined along the curb outside Giovanni's. Through the tall glass doors, crystal stemware glitters beneath warm lighting, scattering fractured rainbows across starched white tablecloths. Of course, Mother chose this restaurant for their 40th anniversary dinner. Elegance that photographs well, prestige that can be mentioned later in conversation. I glance at my watch. 6:58 p.m. The reservation is for 7, which means Madison has already been seated at least 20 minutes, establishing herself as the axis around which the evening will rotate. She believes arriving early isn't eagerness, it's authority. The maitre d' looks me over, gaze lingering just slightly too long on the faint scuff on my sensible black heels, the understated cut of my dress. Name? Morgan. I'm here for the anniversary dinner. His expression transitions smoothly from mild indifference to polished hospitality. Ah, yes, the Morgan celebration. Your sister mentioned you might be joining us. Might. The word lands cold and deliberate in my chest. He guides me through the dining room. Conversations soften as I pass, eyes flicking up briefly before returning to plates and companions. Mother secured a private alcove toward the back, partially hidden by an ornate carved screen. Madison's laughter rings out bright, controlled, perfectly calibrated. I step around the divider and there she is, radiant in crimson silk that probably costs more than my rent. She sits centered, luminous, hands moving gracefully as she delivers some carefully rehearsed anecdote to our cousins. Clara, Mother says, her tone edged with manufactured surprise. We were beginning to wonder. I check my watch again, 7:02 p.m. Madison doesn't pause, doesn't look up, doesn't shift her narrative even slightly to acknowledge my arrival. The only available chair is positioned at the far end of the table beside a towering potted fern that blocks half the room from view. The symbolism is almost theatrical. Father begins to rise automatically, then settles back when recognition registers. You remember everyone, of course, he says vaguely, gesturing at faces that blur together. I nod and slip into my seat, half concealed by greenery. A man beside me leans over politely. Sorry, what did you say your name was? Clara. Clara Morgan. His forehead creases. Oh, are you related to Madison? Before I can respond, servers sweep in with champagne flutes, white gloves, and precise choreography. The envelope inside my purse seems heavier now. Cream paper, thick, expensive. I plan to present it after dessert. $60,000, 7 years of saving. A final gesture. Gratitude. Hope. Madison rises, and attention tilts toward her as naturally as sunlight bending toward the tallest bloom. She lifts her glass, diamond bracelet flashing beneath the chandelier. To Walter and Linda Morgan, she says, voice perfectly projected, thank you for raising the most incredible only child anyone could ask for. Silence follows, but not the kind that protests. No startled gasps, no awkward correction. Mother and Father beam, lifting their glasses. Uncle Dennis shifts faintly, but Aunt Carol's steady hand quiets him. Images cascade through my mind. 7 years old at a winter concert, scanning the audience while they prepared Madison's dance costume weeks in advance. 12 years old, watching from my bedroom window as they left to shop for her special dress, having forgotten to wake me. 16 years old at honors night, empty seats where my parents should have been, while Aunt Carol waved from the second row, and Uncle Dennis adjusted his camera lens. The boyfriend beside me tries again. I'm sorry, what was your name? My hands are steady when I open my purse. The envelope rests inside like something sacred. I had chosen it with care, imagining the moment they might finally look at me differently. Around me, the celebration continues uninterrupted. I stand. No one notices at first. No conversations falter. I move through the periphery unseen. For the first time, invisibility feels less like erasure and more like protection. I walk to Carol and Dennis, seated slightly apart as always. Carol's kind eyes widen when I set the envelope before her. This is for you, I say quietly. The shift in the room is immediate. Conversation collapses into stillness. Madison's laughter halts mid-syllable. Mother's fork taps porcelain. Clara, what is this? Carol whispers. Open it later. At home. I smile at them, genuine warmth softening my voice. Dennis's weathered hand covers mine briefly, grounding and paternal. I turn before emotion can betray me. I pass Madison's rigid posture, Mother's tightening mouth, Father's unreadable expression. The maitre d' appears with my coat as if summoned telepathically. As he helps me slip it on, I catch my reflection in the glass. My shoulders are straighter than they have been in years. Behind me, realization begins to ripple outward. Chairs scrape, Madison's laughter sharpens with confusion. Mother calls my name, tone shifting toward command. I step into the cool Connecticut night, the air crisp and bracing. For the first time in 35 years, I do not turn around. Now, in a rush of memory, the past surges forward. The first box arrived in March during midterms. Mother knocked once and entered without waiting. Clara, we need space for Madison's competition trophies. You don't mind if we store them here?
She didn't pause for agreement, already arranging gleaming gold figurines along my bookshelf. Afternoon light illuminated engraved plates. Madison Morgan, first place. Madison Morgan, outstanding achievement. Madison Morgan, rising star. My design textbooks were relocated to a cardboard box under my bed. Temporary, she promised. By May, debate team photographs lined my walls. June brought framed certificates. In August, a second desk was installed because Madison needed a quiet study space. The fact that I studied there was immaterial. When I announced my acceptance to Rhode Island School of Design, Mother was folding Madison's laundry. "That's nice, dear," she murmured. "Did you hear Madison was promoted? Junior VP at 25. The Morgan family photo wall narrated its own hierarchy. Madison's milestones dominated. I appear occasionally, positioned slightly off-center, partially obscured. In solo shots, my smile always seemed tentative, as though I were uncertain I belonged in the frame. 3 hours away in a modest ranch house adorned with wind chimes, another archive formed. Aunt Tyrell kept a scrapbook of my accomplishments. My watercolor exhibition at the community center she braved a snowstorm to attend. A local newspaper clipping about my internship with Preston Design. She read each piece aloud over the phone, pride warming a voice. Uncle Dennis taught me practical things my parents overlooked. Changing a tire, opening an investment account, understanding compound interest. Financial independence means you never have to beg for approval, he told me. I listened, I saved. Weekend clients, extra consultations. Every spare dollar tucked carefully away. $60,000 over 7 years. I drafted a letter 16 times. Dear Mother and Father, thank you for giving me a home and education. I know I wasn't the daughter you expected, but I hope this gift reflects my gratitude. Every version sounded insufficient, bitter, pleading. Maybe money would communicate what words could not. At Thanksgiving, Father praised Madison's marketing campaign reaching 14 million viewers. My architectural journal feature lay unopened nearby. A client once squinted at my business card. Any relation to Madison Morgan, the marketing genius?
Mother boasted about her talented daughter at Bridge Club. She meant Madison. I stood in the hallway, portfolio pressed to my chest, listening. You should be grateful, Madison once said lightly over Christmas dinner. They don't pressure you the way they pressure me. Being invisible is a gift. The envelope rested in my purse tonight, weighted with hope and denial. 7 years of savings, 7 years of imagining that one grand gesture might recalibrate everything. This morning I hesitated, almost leaving it behind, almost convincing myself that love cannot be purchased. But the Morgan family photo wall still told its carefully curated story. And in a modest ranch house 3 hours away, a different story waited to be told. The envelope contained more than money. It held years of unspoken truth. But what happens when a family's carefully maintained illusion is finally shattered by a single quiet act? Uncle Dennis would say it's simple mathematics. Subtract the lies, add the truth, and trust the final sum. Now in reality, my phone screen blazes with 17 missed calls in the pale dawn light. The timestamps march backward through the night. 6:47 a.m., 4:12 a.m., 2:35 a.m., 11:52 p.m. Voicemails stack up like winter firewood. I let them sit unplayed, watching steam rise from my morning tea. The first message breaks through at 8 a.m. sharp. Father's voice carries that special chill reserved for business enemies and disappointing children. You've embarrassed this family. 4 words, then silence, no goodbye. Mother takes longer to deliver her strike. Her message stretches past the 3-minute mark, words tumbling over each other in practiced distress. How could you hurt us this way after everything we've sacrificed? The familiar guilt rises in my throat, but something else rises with Ida, a strange, wild lightness. Madison waits until noon. The text arrives with surgical precision. A screenshot from 3 years ago, words I'd written to Carol during a moment of raw honesty about feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes I want to scream until they see me, until they remember I exist. Madison's message follows. Clearly you've been unstable for a while. We're all very concerned. I block her number. Then my parents. The silence fills my apartment like sunlight after a storm. Carol calls at 2 p.m. Her voice trembles. We haven't opened it yet. You can. The words come easily now. Clara, honey? A rustling sound, then Dennis in the background. More rustling. A sharp intake of breath. This is $60,000? Yes. We didn't do anything to deserve this. My fingers trace the rim of my empty teacup. You loved me. That was enough. Silence stretches between us, warm and honest. Then Carol's voice changes. Madison sent me something, a text you wrote. I remember. My hand stills on the cup. I meant every word. I was drowning in silence, and you were the only ones who heard me, a sound between a laugh and a sob. We always heard you, sweetheart. That night, I sleep without dreaming for the first time in years. The morning brings clarity, sharp as winter sunshine. I sit at my desk, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The letter forms itself. Dear Mother and Father, I release you from any obligation to explain or defend my existence. I release myself from the burden of proving I deserve space in this world. Please do not contact me again. I wish you peace, but I am done pretending. Clara. The send button clicks with finality. I stand, walk to my living room wall.
where family photos hang in careful formation. Mother's face smiles from behind glass, Madison radiant beside her. My own face appears in corners, half-cropped from special moments. The frames come down one by one. My phone rings. A client whose Victorian renovation I've spent 6 months on, transforming dated rooms into living spaces. Her voice carries wonder. "Clara, I just walked through the house for the first time since you finished. It finally feels like home." Home. The word echoes as I wrap the family photos in the newspaper. They'll go to the attic, a history preserved but no longer defining my present. The next morning brings an invitation to Cousin Sarah's baby shower. My fingers find the decline button without hesitation. No excuse, no apology, just, "I won't be able to attend. Best wishes for the new arrival." The weight lifts from my shoulders so suddenly I gasp. Years of carefully crafted explanations, of making myself small enough to fit family expectations, gone in 2 sentences. A text from Cousin James appears. "Heard some weird happened at the dinner. You okay?" I stare at those 3 words. "You okay?" The automatic response forms. "I'm fine." Delete. "Everything's great." Delete. "No, I'm not okay, but I will be." Send. The truth sits strange and wonderful on my tongue. I carry it into my next client meeting. The young couple want to renovate their first home. The wife speaks hesitantly about colors, glancing at her husband for approval. I recognize the familiar dance of making oneself smaller. "Tell me about your perfect space," I say. "Not what you think you should want. What makes your heart feel at home?" Her eyes light up. For the next hour, she paints pictures with words. Rich jewel tones, warm woods, spaces that wrap around you like a hug. Her husband watches her with growing wonder. I sketch as she speaks, letting her vision flow through my pencil. When I turn the paper toward them, she covers her mouth. That's exactly what I see in my head. How did you know?" "Because you told me. When we stop apologizing for our truth, beautiful things happen." The words surprise me with their certainty. I touch the silver pendant Carol gave me years ago, remembering her voice. "Your vision matters, Clara. Never let anyone tell you different." That evening, I update my portfolio website. No more safe beiges and cautious designs. I fill the page with my boldest work. The sunroom that blooms with stained glass light. The library with its secret reading nook. The kitchen where 3 generations now gather to bake holiday cookies. Spaces that tell stories. Spaces that see people. My phone buzzes. A text from Carol. "The scholarship paperwork is ready. Are you sure you want your name on it?" I think of some future student, feeling invisible, finding proof that being seen matters. That quiet truth deserves celebration. Yes, my name belongs there. The sun sets behind Portland's winter trees. I stand at my window, watching the harbor lights blink on one by one. Each light a home. Each home a story. Each story waiting to be heard. In the growing dark, I whisper the truth I've carried since that dinner. I see you now. I see me. The harbor bells chime 8. Somewhere in Connecticut, my parents are probably sitting down to dinner. Madison might be planning her next calculating move. But here, in this space I've created, their voices can't reach me anymore. I pick up my sketchbook, open to a fresh page. Tonight, I'll design something just for me. Something that speaks in my voice without translation or apology. The pencil moves across paper, creating rooms filled with light. 2 weeks later, Uncle Dennis spots their car first. "Linda and Walter," he says through the kitchen window, his weathered hands pausing over the tomato plants he's pruning. Aunt Carol's spoon clatters against the mixing bowl, but she continues stirring her banana bread batter as their Mercedes pulls into the gravel driveway. "Unannounced," Carol murmurs, sliding the bowl onto the counter. That's new. They watch through the window as Linda emerges from the passenger side, wearing a St. John knit suit despite the casual Sunday afternoon. Walter follows, gripping a leather portfolio like a shield. Carol wipes her hands on her apron, leaving a dusting of flour that matches her silver hair. "Ready?" Dennis nods, moving to stand beside her. The doorbell chimes.
Linda's smile is brittle when Carol opens the door. "We need to discuss Clara's episode. Please come in." Carol's voice carries the same gentle tone she uses for spooked horses at the rescue farm where she volunteers. Walter settles into their worn plaid armchair, his posture rigid against the comfortable cushions. Linda perches on the edge of the sofa, brushing invisible lint from her sleeve. "The money needs to be returned," Walter announces without preamble, "for the sake of family harmony." Dennis folds his arms across his chest. The gesture makes his John Deere t-shirt stretch across shoulders still strong from decades of real work. "We don't take from family." His voice holds the quiet certainty of a man who spent 40 years teaching high school physics. "But we do accept gifts." Linda's fingers twist her pearl necklace. "You don't understand what this is doing to Madison. She's devastated." "I imagine she is," Carol says, settling into her rocking chair. The wood creaks softly, a sound that soothed countless family gatherings. Truth often has that effect. Walter slaps the portfolio onto their coffee table, sending Carol's latest issue of Better Homes and Gardens sliding onto the floor. "We've prepared documentation. Clara's behavior has been concerning, has it?" Dennis retrieves the magazine. smoothing its pages with careful hands. From where we sit, she's never been clearer. The lawyer's letter arrives 3 days later, heavy cream paper carrying veiled suggestions about Clara's mental state when making the gift. Carol reads it twice, then files it carefully in the folder where she's kept every card and program from Clara's events over the years. Madison's campaign starts subtly. A Facebook post about supporting loved ones through difficult times. A carefully curated photo of her comforting their mother. Comments flood in asking what's wrong, allowing Madison to spin her story of concern. "I just worry about Clara," she tells their cousin Sarah over coffee at the country club. Her voice carries just enough for the next table to hear. "She's always been sensitive. Remember when she missed my high school graduation? Mother tried so hard to help, but you know how Clara gets." The truth that Clara had been in the emergency room with appendicitis while Carol held her hand doesn't fit Madison's narrative. In the next few following days, Clara's clients start mentioning their concerns. Mrs. Whitman, reviewing swatches for her sunroom, brings it up casually. "Your sister called. She's so worried about you, dear. Said something about erratic behavior." Clara sets down her fabric samples. "Mrs. Whitman, would you say my work has been erratic?" The older woman glances around her half-finished sunroom, where Clara's design has transformed a dark space into a symphony of light and comfort. "No," she says slowly. "Actually, you're the most reliable professional I've ever worked with. Then let's focus on selecting the perfect fabric for your window seats." Clara's phone buzzes constantly with family members choosing sides. She lets their messages pile up on red. Her social media stays quiet. No defensive posts, no public battles. She posts only her work. Before and after photos, design tips, client testimonials. Coastal Living magazine features her renovation of a sea captain's house. Carol Morgan's honest, unpretentious aesthetic breathes new life into historical spaces. The article reads, "Her designs feel like coming home." New clients seek her out specifically because of her authenticity. No show house glitter, one tells her, just real homes for real people. The surprises come in small ways. A card from her father's college roommate. "I was at your third grade art show. Your parents missed it, but I saw your talent then. Still do." A message from a second cousin. "They did the same thing to my mother. Call me if you need to talk." On Friday, a local design school student appears at her office. "Mrs. Peterson said that you might be willing to mentor me." Clara recognizes Carol's handwriting on the girl's reference letter, sees her own younger self in the hopeful eyes. "Tell me about your dreams," Clara says, pulling up a chair. The scholarship announcement appears in the local paper on Tuesday next week. The Carol and Dennis Peterson Design Scholarship, established in honor of Clara Morgan, will provide annual support to emerging artists and designers who demonstrate exceptional promise. Clara reads the notice over her morning tea, sunlight streaming through the windows of her apartment. Her calendar notification pings, Christmas, Carol and Dennis. Her design schedule fills steadily. A historic farmhouse renovation, a young family's first home, a waterfront cottage being transformed for retirement dreams. Each project chosen for substance over flash, each client seeking something real. The silence in her apartment wraps around her like a favorite blanket. No performance required, no constant vigilance, no need to make herself smaller to fit someone else's story. She waters her windowsill herbs, basil, thyme, rosemary, the plants Carol helped her choose when she first moved in. Their fragrance fills the morning air, honest and green and alive. Her phone lights up with another message from her mother. She lets it fade to black, unread. The truth sits in her chest, solid and warm as a riverstone. Some forms of peace can only be found on the far side of no. 3 weeks later, the silver Lexus sits in my driveway like an accusation. Walter and Linda Morgan, perfect posture intact, wait on my front porch as if they belong there. The winter sun catches Linda's pearl necklace, throwing small rainbows against the weathered wood siding of the house they've never bothered to visit before. My fingers tighten around my steering wheel. Their presence feels like an invasion, especially with that manila envelope clutched in Walter's manicured hands. I've seen enough family photos over the years to recognize a manipulation attempt when I see one. Something shifts in my chest, not fear, not anger, but a strange calm. I park beside their car, noting the Connecticut plates that mean they drove 4 hours to ambush me. The fact that they finally made the effort would have meant everything 3 months ago. "Clara," Linda steps forward, arms extended for an embrace that will never come. "We've been so worried." I unlock my front door, considering my options. The Clara they remember would have stood on the porch, letting the January wind steal her warmth while they wrote the script. But that Clara doesn't live here anymore. "You can come in for 30 minutes, I say, voice steady. "I have a client meeting at 3. The lie settles between us. They know it's Sunday. I know they know, but they follow me inside because the alternative means admitting they drove all this way for nothing. My living room welcomes them with warm cream walls and carefully curated furniture, each piece selected to create the sense of home I never felt in theirs. Linda's eyes catch on the original artwork, the hand-knotted rug, the custom bookcases. Her lips purse as she calculates the cost, looking for evidence of financial instability to support their narrative. "Would you like tea?" I move toward the kitchen, not waiting for an answer. The ritual of measuring loose leaves, warming the pot, selecting cups, becomes a small act of control. They can't start their performance until I return with the tray. "We've prepared some things we thought you should see." Walter's voice carries that familiar stern note, the tone that once made me shrink into myself.
He spreads photos across my coffee table like playing cards in a game I'm tired of losing. Linda perches on the edge of the sofa, hands clasped. We've been doing a lot of thinking, sweetheart. About family, about healing. The water boils.
I pored over the leaves, watching them unfurl. 3 minutes to steep. The silence stretches. Carol told us you won't return our calls, Linda continues, voice trembling. After everything we've done for you. When was the last time you called just to ask how I was? The question slips out quietly, carried on the steam rising from the teapot. Linda blinks. Walter shifts in his seat. I place the tray on the coffee table, nudging aside their photos to make room. Not when you needed something, not when Madison told you to check on me, just to ask how I was doing. Now, Clara, that's not fair. Walter's finger taps against the manila envelope. We've always supported you. Look at these. Your 5th birthday party, the family trip to Cape Cod, your high school graduation. I reach for my bag, still sitting by the door where I dropped it. The calendar I pull out is worn at the edges, pages marked with post-its and colored tabs. May 15th, 2009, my first design showcase. You marked attending on the RSVP. Carol drove 3 hours to be there. Each word falls like a pebble into still water. The 3rd of December, 2012. Emergency appendectomy. The nurse asked 5 times if there was anyone else she should call, besides Carol. You're being dramatic. Walter's face flushes. We had commitments to Madison's events. Always to Madison's events. I lay my old hospital bracelet next to their perfect photos. You didn't forget I existed just once. You forgot every day. You've always been difficult. The words explode from Walter, shattering the careful script. Always so sensitive, so demanding. Your sister never... I'm not difficult. My voice remains level, though my hands shake slightly as I pour the tea. I was just never Madison. Linda's tears fall now, real ones, not the practice drop she used to summon at family gatherings. Her fingers clutch her necklace, as if it might anchor her to the reality she thought she knew. Please, Clara, her voice cracks. We can fix this. We can all get counseling, learn to communicate better. Madison says. Madison isn't here. I stand, crossing to the door. I wish you well, but this is my home, and I'm asking you to leave. You ungrateful. Walter starts to rise, but Linda's hand on his arm stops him. The silence fills my living room like morning fog, heavy with things we'll never say. Linda gathers their photos with trembling fingers. Walter's hands clench and unclench around the manila envelope he never opened. They walk to their car beneath the winter sun that paints long shadows across my driveway. The same sun that rose this morning over a daughter they thought they could still control, and sets now on a woman they never really knew. I close my door on the sound of their engine starting. My tea has grown cold, but I drink it anyway, tasting truth instead of bitterness. The frames on my walls hold different memories now. Carol and Dennis at my first Maine Christmas, friends who became family gathered in my garden, spaces I've designed that tell stories of being seen. Above my desk, a small sign reads, "Home is where your story begins." Mine begins here, in the quiet after the storm, where peace tastes like cold tea and victory feels like finally exhaling. A month later, the scent of cinnamon and pine needles wraps around me as I step into Carol and Dennis's home. Handmade ornaments from the 1970s dangle from a slightly crooked Christmas tree. Construction paper angels with cotton ball beards, plastic bread tags spray-painted gold, wooden clothespins transformed into nutcrackers. No color-coordinated theme, no professional decorator's touch, just 40 years of collected memories, each one hung with love. Clara, Carol's laugh bubbles from the kitchen, accompanied by the clatter of cookie sheets and the warm aroma of ginger. Come taste these before Dennis eats them all. Dennis appears in the doorway, cookie crumbs dusting his flannel shirt. I'm quality control, he announces with mock serenity. His eyes crinkle at the corners as he pulls me into a hug that smells of wood smoke and wintergreen lifesavers. The kitchen counter overflows with mismatched plates of snickerdoodles and thumbprint cookies. A radio plays Bing Crosby,
the sound scratchy and perfect. Carol hasn't bothered with makeup, her silver hair escaping its clip as she rolls out another batch of dough. "Your portfolio's on the coffee table," Dennis says, settling into his worn leather armchair. "That young couple from church stopped by yesterday. Their daughter's graduating design school in May." His voice carries quiet pride. "Wanted to show her what real talent looks like." My throat tightens. I remember being that student, full of dreams and doubts, wondering if I'd ever be good enough. But unlike my story, this young woman has people who believe in her. Carol wipes flour from her hands and joins us, perching on the sofa arm. "We've been meaning to tell you something, Clara." She exchanges a glance with Dennis. "About the money." My stomach clenches, old instincts flaring. But Carol's next words dissolve the tension. "We used part of it to start a scholarship," she says softly, "for young designers who need a little help getting started." Her hand finds mine. "We thought you'd want us to pass it forward." The room blurs. Dennis clears his throat. "The Clara Morgan Design Scholarship," he says. "Unless, if that's difficult, we don't have to use your name." I squeeze Carol's fingers, remembering all the times they showed up when no one else did. All the small kindnesses that added up to love. "I want my name on it," I whisper. "I'm not hiding anymore." Later that evening, my phone buzzes with a text from Sarah, one of my newest clients. Her design consultation reminds me so much of myself. At 23, talented but unsure, permission slips still stuck in her vocabulary. "Would it be okay if I was thinking maybe if it's not too much trouble?" I text back. "Your instincts are solid. Trust them." 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Finally, "Thank you for seeing me." The words hit like a physical touch. I glance around my apartment. No longer the sparse, careful space it once was. Photos crowd the walls. Carol and Dennis at my first gallery showing. My friend Marcus and his husband at their housewarming, surrounded by the built-ins I designed. Sarah's preliminary sketches tacked next to paint swatches and fabric samples. The phone rings. Cousin Rachel, who chose to maintain contact despite the family's unofficial embargo. "Just checking in," she says. No pressure, no agenda, just connection. Carol's question from dinner echoes in my mind. "Do you regret it?" I sink into my favorite reading chair, the one I reupholstered myself in soft velvet the color of sea glass. Outside, snow falls in lazy spirals, each flake visible in the glow of my porch light. Tomorrow I'll meet Sarah for coffee, then stop by the local design college to mentor their winter graduates. Next week, Carol and Dennis are helping me host a New Year's open house. Nothing fancy, just good food and better company. "Not at all," I answered Carol. "I didn't walk away from my family. I walked toward one." The truth of those words settles into my bones like warmth. Some might see empty chairs around my holiday table, hear silence where blood relations should speak. But I see the spaces filled with chosen family, hear laughter unmarred by comparison or competition. I see myself, finally visible, moving through my own life with quiet confidence. The snow continues falling, each flake finding its perfect place in the gathering dusk. Like me, they don't need permission to belong exactly where they land.